And I will turn it back over to Dr. Davis. We'll begin with item C1, strategic plan. Dr. Davis.
Thank you, Madam Chair, members of the board. It's my pleasure to present to you the first quarterly report that has been prepared for the Board of Education as we really embark on a 45-month journey towards a 5-year strategic plan. Of course, this is the first of the quarterly reports, and while I do believe it demonstrates that we have not stopped nurturing what our community's hopes, dreams, and aspirations are for this community, I also know this is not a very comprehensive report because we're at the very, very beginning. So if we could, let's just go ahead and advance to this quarterly report that will be available on our website and that the board has in front of them that will identify each of the pieces of progress made on our strategic plan as well as where we are on monitoring priority outcomes. Just for everyone's recollection, we have strategic actions and we have priority outcomes, and we'll start talking about that language so frequently. So if we move to the next slide, this is strategic action number 1. And what you see in front of you is an assessment of where each of the tactics associated with this strategic action fall, and most of them, nearly all of them, fall in that research and design phase. But some things I'd like to draw to your attention is that we have made a commitment to beginning the writing acquisition process, and we have delivered writing resources to our early learners in K through 3 and in those classrooms, as well as we have begun the training on an enhanced writing approach in Henry County classrooms, and we'll have more to that to discuss. If we move to strategic action number 2, this is where we are starting to talk about advancing effective school leadership in classroom instruction, and I'm pleased to report that our principals have begun training on an effective school leadership framework, and we have begun the development of some of the effective school classroom components, and that will be in development over the course of this year. In our strategic action number 3, this is where we commit to advancing connectivity, to value, engage all students, employees, families, and partners in our growing community. And well, certainly managing a worldwide pandemic was not a part of our strategic plan. It is a place where we are very closely linked to our community partners. But here is where I'd like to celebrate the completion of our Welcome Center. That was something dreamt of through our strategic planning process, and that emerged as a beacon of real joy for our community this past summer. And really, in only being open for 3 weeks, saw more than 2,000 families. It was pretty amazing how that will play a role in our community. In strategic action number 4, if we could really speak to how we're advancing student, employee health, wellness, and support structures. And here's where I applaud the board for immediately taking action to ensure that every school has a mental health and wellness facilitator, as well as a comprehensive wellness plans for student and employees, and much more to work to be done in that strategic action. And number 5, I would just highlight for our board that this is advancing a high-performing culture, and we are in the current stages of designing an RFP for a compensation and classification study for all job families in the organization. We are also in current consultation with strategies to construct our approach to an ERP acquisition, which is an enterprise resource program acquisition. And so when we look at where we are, it's really in the research design phase for our operational effectiveness work, including studying districts of like size across the country. So that takes our strategic actions and gives you a quick summary of the work that's been done in this short period of time to get a little bit in motion on preparing for our future. Now let's look at our priority student outcomes. This is really where the work of the board is yet to be done. What you can see on your priority student outcomes is that our community gave us 3 large categories where they believed accountability metrics should be enhanced: literacy proficiency, readiness to learn, and college, career, and life ready. Our Board of Education has gone through a series of exercises to land on exactly what metrics would be necessary in order to measure those categories. They completed that this fall. You can see them on the screen in front of you. But what we have not been able to do is each of the items that are green are scheduled to be baselined and measured this very first year of our strategic plan. But our Board of Education has not had the opportunity to convene and create goals on our 5-year goals for these items. So that work is forthcoming in the next time the board can convene in a whole board training or a study or in a work session. And then we'll be able to populate that with the goals of our organization. The items that are in gray, you can see have future implementation dates. Obviously, this is a 5-year plan, so it will take us 5 years to get to that full collection of performance metrics. But this is steps towards our cascading accountability from the boardroom to the classroom that really generated out of our community's aspirations. And so that rounds out the work of the priority student outcomes. We'll have more to report in our next quarterly report, which is in November. And really at this point, this is the model we will plan to follow and the template that you will get familiar with each quarter that we report out. And then our annual report will provide you an update on every single tactic in the entire strategic plan. And that won't be till early summer. So, Madam Chair, that concludes what I have prepared. I know that the board is very highly connected to our strategic plan work, and I'm proud of your leadership in nurturing our future. I remain available for any discussion.
Thank you, Dr. Davis. At this time, does any board member have any questions or comments? Mrs. Pope?
Yes, thank you so much, Dr. Davis. I'm super excited about our community getting to see this quarterly report, especially as it continues to grow and things move from the research and design phase to investment, implementation, and completion. And I think it's amazing to even see it like this on paper after hearing the voices of our community. It's just a beautiful picture to come to life. I just want to give a really special shout out and appreciation for our Welcome Center. It was phenomenal to visit that facility and see the families and the resources that were available to them. Our community is phenomenal, and we could not have done that without the incredible partnerships of our community and Dr. Madden and her incredible team of teams. It really is just remarkable. So thank you so much for getting that up off the ground. 2,000 people, that is just amazing. So I hope that that the community continues to take advantage of that as new families move to Henry County. And I just want to thank you for your transparency here and just really keeping the community up to date with the hopes and dreams that they have shared with us.
Thank you, Mrs. Pope. Mrs. Edwards?
Thank you. Good evening. I would just like to say I'm so excited about the priority student outcomes and the entire strategic plan. As the community can see, we are working extremely hard on behalf of the students in this county. Now we're up to 44,000, and they're still coming, and we're still working hard. I'm excited about this, the plan for 2023 as well as 2025. So we still have a lot of work to do, and I want to thank Dr. Davis for taking the lead on this, and also thanking the staff over at the Learning Center. It is like Mrs. Pope said, I was over there and I got to see firsthand how the people appreciate that center. It is just phenomenal. I walked through the entire location and there were people everywhere. So I'm just appreciative that we kept that building open and revitalized it because it was definitely needed in that community. Thank you.
Thank you, Mrs. Edwards. Dr. Nutt?
I just would love to tell Dr. Davis, give you a big kiss. Thank you for everything you do, because I know the job of superintendent is probably one of the most thankless jobs there is behind being a board member at times. But you know what? You have to love your job. And I thank you for looking after the people of Henry County. Thank you for keeping Henry. When I went there, it was Henry County Junior High. Then when my children came through, it was Henry County Middle School. So it's always been, that school has always been the center of activity, whether it was ball games, religious activities, learning activities. But that school has just got a rich heritage, a rich culture that I'm so glad we didn't walk away from it. It's been interesting to watch it evolve through these years, And when I did my tour, I was just so amazed at the things that Dr. Madden and Dr. Crump and their team has done over there. It looks amazing. And I'll just tell you, I can still hear the laughter. And I just want to check in the bathrooms, make sure there's nobody hiding in there. But it was great. So thank you very much for having the foresight to keep that wonderful school open.
Thank you, Dr. Nutt. Any other questions or comments? I, too, am grateful that now this is going to be something that we report on a regular basis. There's so much work that went into it, and so excited to see the progress that we make. So thank you for bringing that to us and leading us through it. And I also want to say a huge thank you to Dr. Madden and her team for the Welcome Center. I hadn't had a chance to tell you this personally, but I did speak with a family as I was leaving the day that I was there. Just struck up a conversation with them. They came from one of our northern states and were new to our community, and just could not stop raving about the service that they received there. And they said we would never have received that back at home where we came from. And so that made me just so proud for you and everyone. So thank you for all the hard work that went into that. And I'm just so thankful for the resources that our families were provided with.